Here we go again. I did say I wanted to turn this into a series originally, but not so soon. The reason I'm making this now is because if you're a fan of me, you probably don't know this because why would you check? But my old Gaming is Dying video from all the way back in August all of a sudden gained 50,000 more views because I guess the algorithm just decided now is the time to recommend it. Who knows why? And the worst part is the people they decided to recommend it to were all the people who I made the video for, essentially. So as you can imagine, a lot of people were upset. Very upset that I was telling them they are killing gaming. Accurately so. But, that being said, that video had a lot of problems. It's probably the least edited video I've ever released. I've pretty much left in every stutter, every vocal mannerism that makes it very hard to listen to. I was struggling to listen to it just to make this. So yeah, it's not a great video. I'll acknowledge that. It has some decent flaws, and there was some decent criticism in the comment section. But there was also a lot of idiots, like a lot of morons, a ridiculous amount of morons who were being upvoted, no less. If there's anything that pisses me off more than dumb people, it's dumb people congregating and agreeing with each other. Just something about that. It gets me every time. But I also want to continue this saga legitimately and better explain the points I brought up in the first video, because yeah, that was just a vague ramble with very little focus. I tried to structure it, it didn't go well. So, I'll just start by addressing some of the comments, and hopefully better clarify my position on this whole thing, and maybe take a slightly more nuanced approach. But for the most part, I support the views that I said in the original video. Alright, so, the first mistake, obviously, that I made was making a new pinned comment to address this influx of viewers, because sometimes I just can't help myself. If I see a bunch of people shitting on me and they come out of nowhere, I'm gonna say something, you know? I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I made a bad video, so I guess I'll move on. Oh. No, I'm gonna fucking tackle this shit. And maybe that's not the smartest thing to do, but fuck it, dude. So I guess I'll just read out these comments because it'll be faster. I said, alright, where the hell did this influx of snowflakes show up? Was this video linked by some angry Twitter user recently? This is literally just an angry rant video. 4 months old at that. And you people are treating it like an analysis of the decline of gaming. Yes, this is an opinion video. I don't think I need to spell that out. If you legitimately want to hear an argument for why older games are better, maybe I'll make a video on that in the future. And, well, yeah, here we are. This is going to be said video. I'll put a timestamp up to when that part begins if you don't want to hear me complain about comments for 10 minutes. And, of course, I get an absolute fuck ton of responses for some reason. And, yeah, some of these comments are pretty level and pretty well explained, but I more or less knew. The reason I thought that it was linked by a Twitter user, not just random YouTube recommendation, is just because of the absolute hive mind of responses. Like, if you read some of the comments on this video, it's like 100 of the same person, you know, responding, is what it sounds like, you know? It's very much the NPC meme characterized, I'd say. It's all the same shit. But yes, okay, so here we go. Here's the first stupid comment. Do you understand subjectivity? How stupid would I sound if I made a video about why FPS are mindless, and if you like them, you are probably an idiot. How dare people enjoy games that I don't like? How dare you enjoy an FPS when I think they're the most boring game you can play? Except that I never made a statement like that in that video. Go back and listen. I mean, you probably won't because it's 36 minutes. But the point is, I never made a generalized statement about an entire genre of games or anything like that. I didn't say, oh, everyone who plays on Sony's a retard. Everyone who plays on Xbox is a moron. I never said anything like that. But you people just got fucking salty anyway because I called out your favorite billion-dollar corporation that you're bootlicking for. And of course, you know, that triggers your inner addict and fucking consumerist mindset, I guess. I don't know. I literally never said anything like that in the video. But here's the worst comment. Calls everyone else a snowflake while being overly sensitive about people criticizing your opinions. Checks the fuck out for about every other red-pilled man-child, still unironically using SJW as an insult like it's 2014. See, I don't think I have a better comment to represent the type of people who were recommended this video, because that pretty much sums it up, and it's also why it's one of the most liked comments on the video with 63 upvotes. I feel like I have several main issues with this comment. The first of which being that none of this is criticism. Like, almost none of the comments that were made are actual criticism. Most of them were people calling me idiots or a boomer, or literally criticizing things I didn't say in the video. So that's not a criticism, like that the comment I just read before. It's not a criticism of a video, you just made some shit up because you didn't like what I had to say. Second, red-pilled man-child might as well be an oxymoron. I can't believe this is something Redditors actually believe, which yes, this man is a Redditor, he confirms it in a later comment, which I think tells you everything you need to know. So basically what you're saying is that being blue-pilled, as in living in a fantasy world, where I guess men and women are equal biologically, socialism is a valid economic system, and I don't know, gamers are all Nazis or something? I don't know, sir. Please explain your opinions further. And finally, people still use SJW all the time. I think I literally read it daily. This is the type of echo chamber that these people buried themselves in, and they say SJW is like a dead term or something. And as I say in this response, would you rather me call you a soy boy or a cuck? Or a beta male, or whatever. SJW might as well be a euphemism for the things you really are. And you have to remember that Redditors and these leftists unironically think chud is a good insult. Most people don't even know what chud means. Like, again, I don't think I want to be taking fucking insult criticism from a leftist. I'm just saying. You know what they say, the left can't meme. And then a lot of people are pointing out, like, the subjectivity argument. First of all, of course the video is fucking subjective. Do I really need to explain to you that these are my opinions? Do I need to say before every statement, well, in my opinion, you fucking suck? You know, it's like, really? One of the top comments on the video is literally like that quote from The Big Lebowski. Is a game good? Is a game bad? That shit's all opinion based.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like, your opinion, man.
No shit. No shit. I mean, really? Yeah, if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, everything's subjective. Why would you respect anyone's opinion? Everyone has a different opinion. Sonic 06 is a great game. Resident Evil 6, best game I've ever played. But then we have the comments that come somewhat close to an accurate criticism, but there's still problems with them. Like, for example, this guy, I guess he's trying to gotcha me, or point me out as a hypocrite or something. He says, Synthetic Man, you have to let go of the past. Also, Synthetic Man, go play 2010-2005 games. Okay, you clearly missed the point of the video. He's referring to the section where I basically insult Nintendo for a while. The whole point is that people play the same 3 or 4 Nintendo franchises over the course of 30 years. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of different IPs across the gaming industry that you could try and play. The whole point was that instead of buying 35th Mario game or Zelda game or whatever, how about you play all these other games, right? And the Switch actually has gotten a decent amount more third-party content than the last couple Nintendo consoles, so people have much more of an opportunity to do so, and so some have. But my point was that people pretend Nintendo is like this amazing company when they've literally been going downhill almost as long as modern gaming has. It's just that it took people longer to notice. Like I say in the video, Super Mario Odyssey is the worst 3D Mario game. Like, it's unquestionably so. Well, I guess nothing's unquestionably so, as we've learned from these comments. But even so, like, the Switch just has a complete lack of good exclusives. Everyone brings up Breath of the Wild. That came out 3 years ago. That's the only good game? It came out 3 years ago? You're still gonna jerk off that game? It's a great game. What has come out since then? Smash? That's it. Where are the other great first-party exclusives? They keep sucking because Nintendo can't change. Like, they will not change. People are begging for a new F-Zero, a new Metroid, a new Pikmin, a new Kid Icarus. You know, any of these games, but they're not making them. Nintendo refuses to make them. Instead, they're making terrible Mario spin-offs. Especially, like, Paper Mario needs to be taken out back and shot at this point. Like, it is beyond dead. But another criticism, and again, this one I'd say is pretty fair. I see some of his points, but to be honest, he sounds sad that it's not 2002 anymore. If someone would have showed me what games are now back then, I would have lost my shit. Games are amazing. They've always had problems, but they definitely aren't dying. It's the only industry that grows each year. Yes, it grows financially each year. The quality of the games at the top of the budget scale are getting worse. Like AAA games, I mean, I can't really even say they're going downhill. They pretty much hit their rock bottom. Because if they get any worse than this, people might actually stop buying them. And that's Ubisoft's entire business model, by the way, is make games as mediocre as possible that people still buy annually. I mean, that's how the company has survived for the past 10 years. And thrived. And yeah, I would be blown away graphically. That's the thing. If I showed 12-year-old me modern games, he'd be like, oh my god, they're so realistic. That's crazy. I guess I'd be playing like Kingdom Hearts 2 or some shit. And then I show me, you know, I don't know, Cyberpunk, Last of Us Part 2, something with insanely realistic graphics. And then you sit me down to play it for like an hour or two, and I'm just like so disappointed and crushed. That's what would happen, because even back then, I knew what a good game was. Who cares how good graphics are, man? And honestly, probably the most fair criticism of all is, and a lot of people brought this up, is the small commentary I made about indie games. But essentially, when I talk about indie games, you know, I haven't played that many of them, because they've never really caught my attention. Especially early on, roughly 8 to 10 years ago, they were mostly 2D platformers and puzzle games and things like that. And yes, they branched out in recent years, you're correct. But they still are not a replacement for AAA games. And I'm going to get into that in the main video proper. But I just want to address, you are correct that indie games do cover a wide variety of genres now. But it's still not the same. That's the number one thing that the PC Master Race likes to pretend. See, that's the difference between me and most of you who watched the original video that you'll never understand. I actually care about gaming. I actually care about this industry. For you, it's just a casual hobby. If video games disappeared from the earth tomorrow, you would move on with your life and would be like nothing changed. Because that's always what you fucking normies do. Every goddamn time. Doesn't matter what the hobby is. You invade it and you ruin it. Because you feel excluded, or the rules are too hard, or it's too hard to get into. So, people change things to make it more accessible, and then you move in, and then you change everything, and you make it go to shit. And it's the same exact thing with the fucking feminists, leftists, SJWs, cucks, beta males, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't matter what buzzword. The group of people who are perpetually offended and ruin things with their politics. Their ever-changing politics, ever-changing rules. Constantly more fucking rules about what is and isn't okay to say or do. And it's fine. They're just fine with on a dot. If they decide tomorrow that the word moron is offensive, all of them, just like that, would just change and stop saying it. And they would start condemning people who've said the word moron in the past. And these are the people you want to support? The morally superior political party and the party of science Despite thinking men and women have no biological differences. Yes, truly the party of science. Ugh. But enough about that. I've already been way too political on this channel as it is. I just want to talk about video games. I just want to enjoy video games. But then things like The Last of Us Part 2 happen, or Mortal Kombat 11, you know? And these people have entire development teams in the indie scene as well. That's the worst part. Like, did you know the main character in Celeste is trans? Yeah, you probably didn't, because it doesn't matter. And yet, the creator thought it was necessary to say, oh yeah, you know that character you thought was a little girl? No, that's actually, a trans woman. Yeah, that really mattered in this cutesy kids game. Gotta get those virtue signal points, I guess. But honestly, really, I think the biggest problem with the comment section in general is just people taking it too seriously. Yeah, I was a bit melodramatic in that video, for sure. I definitely overgeneralized a lot of things. But it was obviously supposed to be a purely emotional video, and some people were treating it like it was an analysis, as I pointed out in that previous comment. It's obviously not an analysis, it's literally just the gaming equivalent of a boomer ranting about how shit sucks now. And if you weren't around to see the golden age, you don't have an opinion. Period. I'm never gonna change that opinion. If you haven't played a game before 2006, then you don't know how good it used to be. And you're likely a graphics whore anyway who won't go back and play old games, so does it even matter? So yeah, I think that pretty much covers the gist of the comment section. Now, on to actual part 2 of Gaming is Dying, right? Let's talk about exactly how this is gamers' fault, just as much as it is corporations' fault. It's very easy to just be like, oh, I'm a socialist or a communist, and say that, oh, it's the mega corporations' fault. It's the duty of the corporations to serve the people. Oh, it's like, no, it's about money, obviously. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's a flawless system, but capitalism's the best system we have right now. And so, yeah, corporations are just acting naturally, you know? Obviously, they're trying to make the most money possible, the safest way possible. And that's how gaming got to what it is today. Because before gaming became mainstream, you had to make a quality game to sell. But yeah, once gaming started to get mainstream in the late 2000s, 2010, 2011, around that period, obviously, that was the sign of the end. Any nerdy hobby becoming mainstream is gonna get shittier. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Look at modern comic books. Absolute ass. Absolute example of social justice taking over an industry. No question there, man. I could just show you some comic book covers that will tell you more than I ever could about the state of comic books. But the same goes for even, like, tabletop games. Look at D&D. They're gonna get rid of racial bonuses in the next edition. Isn't that great? That's exactly what we need. Fantasy creatures are racist, apparently. And obviously, I don't need to talk about DLC, microtransactions, all that crap. I already made like an over 30-minute video on that. You already know. You already know how it happened. But the point is that it's the consumer's fault for fucking purchasing the stuff. You want to take away personal responsibility. That's what this is about, and this is especially a thing that casuals or normies, or whatever you want to call them, love to do. Is that they'll complain about something, and then they'll buy it every year, and you wonder why it's still around. It's like, why would they make it any better if you keep spending money on it? And there's so many other games. This is the biggest joke of all. The biggest joke is that you have to buy indie if you don't want to buy AAA. There used to be a third option. It was called middleware games, or AA games, whatever you want to call them. Essentially everything that THQ used to make, right? And the PS3 was full of great games just like that. Heard of 3D Dot Game Heroes? Probably haven't, because it was before Dark Souls, right? From Software made 3D Dot Game Heroes, I believe the same year as Demon Souls. And it's essentially a Zelda, an original Zelda clone, but with like Lego blocks, more or less. Like, it's pretty good, actually. Tokyo Jungle, you ever heard of that? It was an arcade style, like 2D survival game where you play as an animal and you eat other animals, or if you're an herbivore, you obviously eat like grass and fruit and shit. and you drink water, and you mate to have new generations, and slowly your stats go up, and you try to survive to 100 years. What about Valkyria Chronicles? The 4th game came out after a long hiatus, essentially. Valkyria Chronicles was an awesome PS3 game. Tactical, mixture of real-time combat and turn-based, tactics strategy game. And it was, anime style with guns and a fantasy World War II type of setting. Look at that. None of this is indie. You don't need indie. You didn't need to, anyway. And I'm glad that indie is starting to fill those niches out, but mostly only on PC for one, so if you don't have a PC, that limits your options quite a bit. But also, bigger corporations used to be invested in making these smaller games. Like Ubisoft, they made Child of Light, which, its quality's a bit debatable, but it had a decent amount of critical acclaim back in the day. And the same thing with Grow Up and Grow Home. Those were both 3D platformers where you collect spaceship parts. But the problem is people don't even buy these games. And this tangentially ties into one of the bigger points I want to address from the original video, which is I noticed a few comments that were saying that this gen was better than last gen, which is absolutely a joke to me. I already listed a huge list of disappointments from this current generation, which the PS3 gen didn't even have close to that many. There were a few. Obviously, Mass Effect 3 is the most famous. BioShock Infinite was decently disappointing, especially to people who actually liked the first game. Dead Space 3 was pretty disappointing, especially to me. Resident Evil 6 obviously was a disaster. So there are some bad ones, clearly. But, dude, the list, literally, I kept expanding that list, I said in the original video. And here, and I know I've still missed some, and obviously some things are more disappointing to some people than others, depending on your levels of hype. Obviously I left out Anthem on this list, because I knew Anthem would suck. How could you be disappointed? Same thing with Fallout 76, really? But, man, look at this. Just listen to this list. Resident Evil 3 Remake, Last of Us 2, No Man's Sky, Watch Dogs, MGS5, Mortal Kombat 11, Cyberpunk 2077, obviously the most recent and one of the worst, Batman Arkham Knight, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Mass Effect Andromeda, Super Mario Odyssey, Fallout 4, Middle-earth Shadow of War, Destiny, Yooka-Laylee. There's so many. And I guarantee if I literally just sat down and thought about it, I could add at least 5 more games to that list. And it's not just about what's bad, it's also about what's good. I just feel like half of these people who are PS4 fanboys now didn't own a PS3. So shut your fucking mouth, first of all. You cannot talk about the PS3 if you didn't own one. That's just bullshit memery that you bought into the narrative that the 360 was this awesome console and the PS3 was trash. No, the PS3 had awesome games that unfortunately a lot of people never bought. I already named 3 great exclusives earlier that are, were those middleware titles, essentially. 3D Dot Game Heroes, Tokyo Jungle, and Valkyria Chronicles. Luckily, Valkyria Chronicles is no longer an exclusive, so you can play that on PC if you'd like to see that for yourself. But Infamous 2, absolutely amazing game. Uncharted 2 and The Last of Us, great games. Even if the gameplay style and the whole narrative Sony thing has gotten tiring at this point, I'd say The Last of Us pulled it off amazingly. Probably the best they've ever done with the narrative style. And Uncharted 2 had just really bombastic cinematic gameplay that hooked you all the way through, And they never came close to that level of on-railedness while still being that engaging gameplay-wise. And then, of course, God of War 3, which, it's not my favorite, but I'd say it's still pretty great. Resistance 3, which is a game nobody will believe me is good. You gotta play it, it's great. Little Big Planet 2 is awesome for people who love any type of creation game where you get to make your own levels and stuff. The Ratchet & Clank Future Trilogy, which are all great games. Not as good as the PS2 ones, but still, Ratchet & Clank, one of the highest quality franchises over time, easily, in my book. Demon's Souls, the game that started the Souls franchise and, just got remade and everyone's talking about how great it is. That was PS3 exclusive. Metal Gear Solid 4, albeit, too many cutscenes, not enough gameplay. Still better than MGS5, if you ask me. At least it felt like Metal Gear. And the Yakuza games, games that have taken off now. Yakuza 4, Yakuza 5, those are PS3 games. So you can't say the PS3 didn't have great games just because you didn't play them. Some people played them, the minority of people. And this is what I'm talking about. Is you can't just say at the end of the day, oh, just play indie games. I mean, really? Like this, again, this is just, someone made this comparison. Actually, 2 commenters made this comparison to music, right? Where it's like, oh, people say modern music sucks now. Well, that's just because they don't look for underground music. I mean, you're right, but it's still not the same. If people really like pop music, and all pop music is shit now, you can't just tell them like, oh, well, you need to get into heavy metal, or you need to get into like EDM, or like trap music, or fucking vaporwave. That's not the same. That doesn't bring back pop. You see what I'm saying? So yes, I am playing some indie games, and I'm enjoying it. I recently just started Hades, really high quality game. Reviewed Noida recently, that's also a great game. Mortal Shell was a pretty good Souls-like game that was also indie. That has surprisingly awesome graphics for being an indie game. But that doesn't fill the void. And that's my point. Like all these hipsters who are like, he's calling other people casuals when he doesn't even play indie games. It's not the fucking same, dude. It doesn't invalidate what I said. Even if I do like indie games, it's not the same as playing a high budget game, and it never will be. Because even if it does, that company's gonna be corrupted just like the rest. The perfect is CD Projekt Red. That's the perfect example. They were indie, and then they were publicly traded right before Witcher 3 came out, and then they went to shit. Because that's what happens. You open up to investors, and your company's dead. It's only a matter of time. I would love to see middleware come back from the dead. But even the games that are out now that I've seen, they just don't seem like much of a replacement. I mean, I'm sure there's some hidden gems out there, but like, a good example is like the Sniper Elite games, right? Those are so basic. I don't know if you played one of them, you played them all. They're pretty much the same game. And obviously there's gems in the rough. I would never say there were no good games this gen. Since I'm sure this video is getting a little long at this point, I'm just gonna make one final point about the decline of video games, and then next part, I'll just tackle a specific subject. Alright, so Wikipedia has set up a list of video games, like best of all time. So essentially, they referenced a lot of top 100 greatest games lists from various journalist sites, which I know, game journalism, am I right? Yeah, that in itself is a joke. But the point is, right, is that you can take all these publications and just cross-reference them and see what games from each year appear the most often, right? And just say, these are what are critically considered the greatest games of all time. Let's just take a look at some of these years and compare them to the last few, and you can see how much worse gaming has gotten. Because greatest games of all time used to come out yearly, and now you're fucking lucky. You're fucking lucky if one game that will be remembered in the past a year comes out. I'm just gonna skim through this list because we'll be here all day if we're just going to analyze each and every individual greatest game of all time. But let's just start with 1993. Let's look at this. Doom, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Mortal Kombat 2, Secret of Mana. Then we have 1994, Donkey Kong Country, Earthbound, Final Fantasy VI, Super Metroid. 1996, Pokemon Red and Blue, Quake, Resident Evil, Super Mario 64, Tomb Raider. I mean, even for PC people, we have Command & Conquer Red Alert, Duke Nukem 3D. I mean, look at this, man. Let's speed up to the PS2 era. 2001, Final Fantasy X, GTA 3, Halo, Max Payne, Metal Gear Solid 2, Silent Hill 2, Smash Bros. Melee. Look at this. Look at a lineup like this. You will never see a lineup like this again. 2004, Half-Life 2, Halo 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, World of Warcraft. You can't fucking tell me with a straight face any of the last 6 years have had that many, like, greatest of all time games come out. It's a lie. You would be fucking lying. Yeah, so now we're starting to get into the modern era of games, right? But even then, look at 2007. Clearly one of the greatest years of gaming. BioShock, Call of Duty 4, God of War 2, Halo 3, Portal, Super Mario Galaxy, TF2. I mean, like, God, man. And the worst part, too, is, like, the PS3 gen is still amazing through 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011 with Arkham City, Dark Souls, Skyrim, Minecraft, Portal 2. 2011 is another, like, legendary, absolutely legendary year. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then, okay, so we finally get to 2014. What do we have? Destiny. 2015, Bloodborne, Witcher 3. 2015, probably the best year of this gen. 2016, Inside, Overwatch. Like, really? And Inside absolutely does not deserve to be here, by the way. No. 2017, Breath of the Wild. I mean, 2018 has God of War, I guess. Yeah, God of War would probably go on here. 2019 has Sekiro, I guess. Whatever year Nier Automata came out, maybe that deserves a spot. Maybe Persona 5 if you're kind of stretching. Greatest of all time at this point. There was nothing from 2020. There was not a single game that will be considered the greatest of all time. Because Doom Eternal, worse than Doom 2016. Hades, maybe. I mean, I'm not going to make a judgment call now. Ghost of Tsushima, nothing special. No better than Infamous 2. Infamous 2 is still Sucker Punch's greatest game. It makes no real innovation on sandbox game genre or open world game genre, except maybe the wind mechanic, I guess. So yeah, I guess that's a better way to traverse the world, but that's it. I mean, other than that, it was like the Batman style system with some tweaks. It had a good story. Ghost of Tsushima had a good story. That's about it. Last of Us 2, yeah. Yeah, Last of Us 2. If that shows up in this list, I'ma fucking lose it. No, dude. Look at this. Look at this. From like 1993 to 2011. 1993 to 2011 is pretty much the golden age of gaming. Games were so fucking good for so long. But it's funny. It's like a bite-sized time frame in the grand scheme of things. Because gaming has only really been around for 40 years. A little more than 40. It's only been relevant in the public eye for like 12 years. They were seen as fucking toys until, of course, the normies picked them up, you know? And now that the normies are in, they want to change everything and fucking ruin it, of course. Because that's all you fuckers know how to do. It's like you don't even understand why gatekeeping exists. Why do you think gatekeeping exists? I'll give you a guess. If you seriously can't think of a reason gatekeeping exists, then you're either so brainwashed by its poor connotation from the public eye, or you're one of the people who wants to infiltrate and destroy everything because everything is sexist and everything is racist and we need to point it all out. Yeah, I think you know who said that. Gatekeeping exists because when nerds were younger, including me, when we were young, we were bullied for liking video games. A lot of people were bullied for liking video games. Because only a loser would play video games, right? But imagine saying that today. Now everyone plays video games. In fact, there are people who bullied others for liking video games who enjoy video games now. Do you think they're apologetic? No, of course they're not. And they don't even play the games that the nerds like. No, they have their own games, aka Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Fortnite. Gaming is a huge medium. Just go fucking explore. Go play some new fucking games. Go play things outside of your comfort zone. That's what I've said multiple times on this channel. That's why the people who are, shit-talking me not playing indie games, we're missing the point. My point is not to shame people for not wanting to play old games. Well, unless you're a graphics whore. I don't like you if you're a graphics whore, probably. The point is, if you only play shitty AAA games, you're part of the problem. And if you buy microtransactions, you're absolutely part of the problem. So I don't care if you're playing old games or indie games. Either one's fine. Just don't be a fan
Mamma mia!
about it. Don't ruin video games for other people because you're a fucking narcissist. Because that would pretty much sum up the comment section too. A bunch of narcissists who are like, people just want to play the games they like. Yeah, well, if you're ruining it for everyone else, you're you're an absolute. Alright, yeah, I think I've said my piece. Part 3, who knows what it'll be about. I guess it depends on the reception to this video.